Hi, I'm Melisa Pearce, and this is my very fun horse, Higgins. And hopefully he's just going to stand here while I tell you a little bit about my latest book, Equusology. So some of you may have taken something called a Myers-Briggs. In the middle of the last century, sounds like a long time ago, Isabel Myers created a way to really find out what are people's innate temperaments. And based on their temperaments, she created a 400 questionnaire. So 400 questions takes people a long time to take. Basically, about the 80s, 1980s, a man named David Pearce came along, and he took the same test, reduced it down to 70 questions, and made it very friendly for people to take, but it gave the same information. So I studied with David Pearce, and it's called the Pearce-Bates Temperament Sorter. Before David Pearce passed away, he allowed me to put his test into this book, Equusology. And we created another 70 questionnaire about these guys. So you take the test about your horse. So it's different questions, and I'll read a few out today so you can kind of get a feel for what the test is. And then just to be sure we give a voice for the voiceless, we set up 16 different experiments that you can do with them. Things that you can say, okay, does your horse show a lot of interest when? Well, you might answer that one way, but your horse might answer it another. So we set up all kinds of ways for you to do that. So what is temperament? Most of us know in our English language the words extrovert and introvert. Those are probably the most common. And so extrovert you think of as a very outgoing person. Introvert you think of as somebody who likes to have a lot of private time. And both of those things are true. But I've come to really understand it in how we distill information. And distill it sort of like taking the caffeine out of coffee, if you could separate it. So the information, when it comes in to an extrovert, they like to process it out loud. So if you live with an extrovert or you are an extrovert, know that the true gift is somebody that says, listen, just start talking, we'll figure it out. And the extrovert's known for needing to say a lot of words to get kind of to their bottom line or the distillation. Your introvert's just exactly the opposite. They need to be able to think about the question, distill it internally, and then they'll deliver the distillation. So that's extrovert, introvert, and we'll get to these guys in a minute because they're extroverted and introverted too. Now the next category is looking at whether someone learns as an S or an N. So an S learner is somebody who's interested in the facts and the details. They're interested in the history of things. How did things get to be how they are today? The N is interested in absorption learning, kinesthetic, hands-on, experiential learning. And many times they're not so interested in how something got to be where it is today, but where can they take it in the future? If I drew a line in the sand and I said, this is reality, all of the S's want to know what creates my reality and how can I be in my reality? The N says, wow, that reality is a great springboard for going off into the future. What's possible? What might happen later? What can I create from this? And of course, with these guys, when we're looking for a horse partner, we often want to know both sides, right? What's the bloodline and the breeding? What's the training on the horse? But hopefully you say, hey, what are we going to create in the future together? Where are we going? What are we going to do? The third category is how we make decisions. And if you don't think horses make decisions, they're only making them from the minute their eyes open up, just like us, making decisions all day long. So when we make decisions, we make them from one of two places. Either we say analytically, logically, through thought and fact, I'm making this decision. Or we make decisions saying, my gut tells me this, my heart feels this way, and I'm feeling that this is the direction I need to go. Both are valid, by the way. And how you make decisions shapes your life. Everything in your life today is a result of a decision you've made. There is nothing in your life that is not. So if you love your life today, you're making decisions that have taken you right to the life you're living. If you don't like something in your life, it's because of different decisions that you're making. Nobody goes bankrupt over one expenditure or gains 100 pounds over one muffin. It's a constant, never-ending set of decisions, right? So the last category is, how are we organizing time and space around us? So some of us are organized in a way that says, I have to be at the airport 2 hours before my flight leaves. I'm more comfortable sitting at the gate reading a book. And I wear a watch even though I have a cell phone. And I like have a list and to cross things off a list and to have things completed and done. The other half of our society says, I like to take things as they come. I like to remain more open-ended and open to different options and things that might be coming down the pike toward me. And gosh, if I miss that flight, there'll probably be another one. I'll just kind of not waste my time sitting at the gate. I'll do other things on the way to the flight. So they're the more spontaneous side of the world, and they utilize time in a very different way from people who utilize it in 10-minute segments. So all of these things shape who we are, right? They're different parts of our personality. And as we think about our personality and those things are put together, there are certain things that go together really well and other things that are quite unique. So not to make it too confusing, I want to tell you what these are. We combine the S. Remember, the S is the factual learner, the person that's interested in reality and details and history. So the S person has to figure out, as I'm bringing in this information in this sort of fashion that I am I going to organize it into 10-minute segments and policies and procedures and laws and things that will really guide life and help others in a useful way? That's combined with the J. So that's the S learner combined with the J who organizes things. Their key word, if you are an SJ, is responsibility. You're a dependable person. People can count on you for things. Now, what if that S, the same S, bringing in facts and details and interested in reality, what if that S is combined with a P? That spontaneous, get there when I get there, kind of go with the flow personality? So the SP chimes to the word freedom. Don't fence me in. Let me be out in the world, and I'll take all those things in and I'll make them into a song or a poem, or I'll create something that people can wear, or I'll create an image that people will remember, like a logo. So they're interested in the freedom. The N personality, and remember, that's your kinesthetic learner, the learner that's experiential, the one that's intuitive and says, I absorb things that I learn. And I'm interested in future and possibilities and imagination and things like that. So the N is teamed, not with the S and the J, or the J and the P, excuse me. The N is partnered up with either the F or the T. Because they've brought things in through feeling, now they're making decisions with those things. Very rare, only 1% of our population is NT. And the NT is the person that can figure out what's wrong with something. They can always look at something that everyone else thinks is fine and they say, oh, well, this isn't going to work, or this needs to be changed. You might have somebody like that at a work team, for instance, and they kind of annoy you because they think they're always like, what's wrong with things? But they mean it well. They mean it with improvement. That's their contribution. It's like, oh, you guys don't see that? Well, here, this isn't going to work because of this piece. If we fix that, it will. It's really quite a gift and a good contribution. And then 6% of the personalities of the world are NF, and that 6% are your natural coaches, people that inspire others, people that are very feeling-centered and help people really feel good about themselves. The NF is also the easy mark, or the person that's easily duped, because they see the positives of people and oftentimes don't see what's not working. So I have a little blind spot to what's not working. All right, so how does it apply to these guys, and why would we even care? So you might be thinking about your horse at home. So some of the things I'd like to know is if a horse goes out in a pasture, if I took this horse and I said, well, I'm going to put you out in this paddock with these other horses that you don't know. So does he go right up to them and want to meet them all in a hurry? Does he assess the situation and go, maybe I'll just stand over here and see who comes and gravitates toward me? And horses who are out in pasture, I'm not going to do that, by the way, don't worry. And horses who are out in a pasture every day with the same horses, you'll still see one that's kind of off with his buddy. You know, two that are near the herd, but they're not with the herd. They're close, but not quite. And the rest maybe are all together. So is your horse in the pile over here going, hey, you know, let's all be together? Or is he off with one more solid friend that he says, that's my buddy. We're close to the herd if we all needed to take off, but we're not in the herd. We're separated just a little bit. This can matter for a lot of different reasons. Let's say that you have a barn. We have a 22 stall barn here on our ranch here a little bit north. And moving the horses around to different stalls is not something we try to do. We try to find harmony, right? And just leave them in those same stalls. But every once in a while we'll see a horse that's all of a sudden really stressed out and just doesn't seem happy and seems to not be sleeping well at night. And if you pay attention, does he have an extroverted horse on each side of him? Maybe it's a horse like this one that needs to be with a solid wall on one side, a tack room, a bathroom, almost anything, than two horses that want to cuddle up all the time right at his sides. So some horses need that space. Some do better, you know, in taking him to horse shows and you say, okay, so Higgins needs to be in the stall next to the tack room or at the end where he can see things, but other horses aren't up in his face all the time, right? I know. So kind of goes along with that. How about how horses learn? And so trainers know this about horses. They know that there isn't a training method that's ever been invented by any trainer on the globe that works for all horses. If a trainer tells you their method works for all horses, they haven't ridden enough horses, right? Horses have temperaments and typology and personalities just like we do. And so they learn in different ways. One horse needs to learn by actually going and touching something, and they thrive on the repetition of things. So trainer brings them out and starts into the morning stretch exercises and starts into the warm-up. And the trainers in S, maybe it's very repetitive. Trainers in SJ, this is how I start all my horses every morning. And he's riding a horse who's an N. So the horse says, oh, I kind of just need to absorb everything around me and take a look around, kind of snoop around to start my day, and then I'll go to work. So those can be vast differences. If we can figure those things out, we can actually make it enjoyable for our equine partner, not just for ourselves, which is always my goal, is to honor who they are and their differences and their personalities and how they are in the world, instead of just asking them always to adapt to me. So it's much more harmonious if we're both happy. You know, we're both here and we're both happy. How about decisions? You think horses make decisions? I do. I think they make decisions just like we do. You made a decision when you were a kid. Are you going to be at the front row of the classroom? Or are you going to be in the back row of the classroom? Are you going to like the library and going to library time? Or did you want to be in PE and go play sports? So we all have different things. Were you the kid that took baton twirling in 3rd grade? Or were you the kid that said, no, I don't want everybody looking at me, but I would like to work on my science project? You made decisions always. You made decisions later in life. Did you date quite a few people, or did you marry the first person? You know, you made a lot of decisions. And you still make a lot of decisions, how you manage your being and your life. So for them, we limit some of their decisions. We don't let them shop for their own apartment, right? So we tell them, this is your stall. We don't let them choose in a lot of areas, but they still have ways that they like to express themselves and things that they want to choose. I think it comes back to some ways that we are offering them things. When I trail ride, you know, these horses are well broke. They know the rules. Higgins knows he has buttons installed all over his body that when I communicate, that means I want this or I want that. When we go out and trail ride, as long as he's not doing something that is going to unseat me, if he wants to look around, that's okay with me. If he wants to stop at a vista and take it in, that's okay with me. And different people are different ways. Some people still want to maintain control even out on the trail. But I think in the trail that it's a really nice opportunity to be able to say, you bet, I want you to enjoy our day too. So everything in life is either a decision that takes you on a Y road, you know, roads that just sort of tee off and you gently go this way or gently go that way. But some roads bring you to ones that are a complete stop. It's a T road, right? So you come right up to it and you have to make a hard and fast decision. So horses are exactly the same way, and they're making those decisions all the time. The trick is, are they making it through experience and analysis and thought, or are they making the decision from intuition and kind of a gut feel? And they are quite different. Take a horse who's a cutting horse. A cutting horse is a horse that says, okay, I'm supposed to bring one calf out and not let it get to the other calves. So I'm going to move quickly and dart quickly. He's reading the cow's body language and he's making decisions all the time. The rider is aboard, but the rider of a great cutting horse, the horse is doing a lot of the work and making a lot of the decisions by what he's assessing. They're usually a high S horse. They're looking at details of that cow. They don't miss the details, high intensity focus, and they love the repetition of it, right? How about, well, let me go to the last category and then we'll put them into what horses do. So how about the J and P? So if you've cleaned your own horse's stalls, you know that some horses, all of their poop's in one corner, right? Others, you find it everywhere, including the waterer. They're just kind of everywhere, just not paying attention to squaring everything away like that. So they also can be horses that as you're giving them a cue, they gently pick up into it. No matter how much you train them to pick up smartly, they pick up, I'm getting there, we're doing it, here I go, watch, I'm cantering. And you have other horses that are a high J horse, and they say, as soon as you give me that cue, I'm on it. And they're very precise, and they like that very precise patterned work, and they like to know when their workout is done. So for me, I ride reiners, I ride trail horses. So for this guy, if we went out and practiced our reining pattern and he's responsive, when we're done, I might sit and chat with a girlfriend aboard him and I might go out on the trail. He's that kind of horse where he's very flexible. Sure, whatever, we're just going. But I have ridden horses that say, oh no, we're done. You ride me in the reining pattern, we're done. We don't go do something else. They're very rigid in their routine and they like it that way. What you're trying to find is what your equine partner actually enjoys. And that makes it a more happy life for them. And to me, happy horse, happy life. So that works. So I'll talk just briefly about why some of this matters for types of horses. So let's say a racehorse. So they train racehorses one way on the track and race them the other. I just did my hand the opposite way. They train them this way and they race them that. So the horse knows, it's one of his signals. Oh, today's race day. We're going in and this is where we're going. As this horse picks up speed, if they have a sense of freedom and creativity with it, wow, if that's in their heart, if that's in their temperament, they're an SP and they say, I get what we're doing. And I understand the rules and how to do it, but give me my freedom. Let me just go. That's not the horse that they're having to, encourage all the time. The horse just wants it, seeks it out. It's my dog Kizzy. We have not figured him out yet. So then looking at, say a horse, we talked about a cutter, say a horse that is dressage. So dressage is precise. It's like ballet on horseback. It's precise and it's beautiful. And there's a lot of repetition to train a horse into it. And there's a lot of union between the horse and the rider with a lot of preciseness. So if you have a high SJ horse, a horse that says there are rules in life, there's policies and procedures and rules in life, and that's what I like to adhere to because it keeps me happy. Then you have a horse that says, just show me which pattern we're doing and I'm very precise as I go with it, right? You want to check him out, don't you? So there's a lot of different ways in which these horses, based on their temperament and based on their typology, you can decide housing things, you can figure out pasture issues, you can figure out why one mare is squealing and unhappy all the time, even when she's not in season. You can figure out why your horses like to do certain things, and also their aptitude. What is this horse not just bred to do, but what's his temperament to do? Because that's what he's really going to enjoy. Okay, check out the dog. So I hope you've enjoyed this. The book's called Equusology. There are 3 tests. One for you that you take to figure out your temperament. One for your horse, and there's several different questions in it. I said I'd read ones. Let me find the equine test here. So for instance, you would ask yourself about your horse. When your horse is released back in the field, does he quickly join the others to touch and smell or wait for others to approach him? If you're riding your horse in a riding ring and you stop asking anything of your horse, he's most likely to continue the pattern you were riding, or stop and wait for further direction, or aimlessly wander around exploring the arena. So that's what you're taking on that test. And then there's all kinds of different things in the back that are, we tell you exactly what things you want to get, a barrel and a cone, and what size ring to put them in. And then we have several, in the very back, several case studies of specific horses. So you can read about different horses and how that person figured out what their horse was and where they work. We have camps that you can bring your horse to across the nation that are trainers that have been trained by myself and my co-author, Carolyn Fitzpatrick. And those trainers put you through a 2-day camp. It is so much fun. If you don't have your own horse, or the camp's too far from you and you don't want to, there's always horses on site. So they partner you with a horse so that you can play with that one for the weekend. And then you work on figuring it out and putting the horses through the different exercises that we have here. And it's a lot of fun. Most people, once they grasp this whole concept, then they want to type their workmates and their spouse and their family and everything else. So you investigating him? Thanks so much for listening, you guys. I appreciate your attention. Thank you. who